Did you ever get tripped up trying to pronounce words with the letter C? You're definitely not alone. So many people mix up hard and soft C's without even realizing it. I remember I was a young officer on a ship going through safety manuals on a board ship with new cadets. The word cycle popped up, and one of the new cadets, who wasn't a native speaker, pronounced it kickle. We all looked confused and laughed, but really it wasn't funny. It was confusing. The truth is, the letter C can be sneaky. I mean, sometimes it's hard, like k in cat, and sometimes it's soft, like s in city. And knowing the rules is kind of like tying this bow tie. Once you know the steps, it's easy. So here's a quick tip that you can use right away. When you see a C before the letters E, I, or Y, think soft, like city. When you see a C before A, O, or U, think hard, like cat. So stick around, because tonight I will show you the simple rules that make this all clear. And don't miss the Mastery Minute at the end. I will share an idiom with a very colorful history that ties this all perfectly together with today's theme. And as always, drop your questions in the chat. I see one person in the chat. Hello, Glisten BB. And I will answer them right after the Mastery Minute. And hey, like this channel, subscribe, and share so we can help more people learn with us. And all right, let's jive right into it. And let me introduce you to Javier. Javier was presenting at an international conference talking about the success of a project. Except he pronounced it success. Well, half the audience looked puzzled. The other half tried not to giggle. What was the problem? Well, the tricky letter C. Without knowing the rules, you can feel embarrassed or misunderstood. And it's not just Javier. I've heard countless learners stumble over words like cycle, access, or even cello. The good news is English actually gives us clues. You just have to know where to look. So, how do we know when the C is hard and when it is soft? Well, let's break it down. Okay, so we're going to unlock this mystery together, so strap in. You saw how Javier struggled, and maybe you have a familiar experience yourself. Here's the good news. There are really simple patterns that you can use to help this make sense. So think of this as our little treasure map to pronunciation. All right? I'm going to walk you through the clear rules, show you some common traps, and give you practical examples that you can use right away. And trust me, once you see the logic here, you'll start spotting it, the hard and the soft C, without any hesitation at all. So let's dive into those rules right now. And the rule number, we'll start with hard C. Okay? This one's actually pretty straightforward. When C is followed by the vowels A, O, or U, it usually makes a strong K sound. Think of the crisp, crunchy C. Okay? You'll hear it in words like cat, castle, see that, C-A, color, culture. The C is sharp and confident, just like knocking on a door, right? So let's practice together, right? Repeat after me. Cat, coffee, curious. Feel that k at the back of your throat when your tongue touches the roof of your mouth. That's the k sound at work. And just remember, if you see CA, CO, or CU, your brain should immediately think K, like castle. You can try this yourself. Coconut, cucumber. Notice the pattern? So remember, simple formula. C plus A, O, or U is K. Keep that in your pocket as your first rule of thumb. Next, the soft C. Okay? The soft C is smoother, lighter, almost like a whisper. When C is followed by E, I, or Y, it usually turns into a S sound. Think of words like city, or scent, or cycle. So, let's practice a few. Repeat after me. City, celebrate, celebrity, bicycle. Hear how your tongue touches just behind your teeth, almost the same place as when you say the letter S. That's why we call it the soft C. So, just as before, if you see CE, CI, or CY, think soft like city. Try these. Century, citizen, celery. Do you hear the gentle S sliding through? So that's the formula. C plus E, I, or Y is S. So keep repeating that pattern until it feels natural. So, and the more examples you say out loud, the faster it will stick. Okay, we've covered the two basics. These are the basic rules. Now, there are times when C takes on some common exceptions, okay? These are curveballs. English loves to throw curveballs, right? Exceptions. We thought you had it all figured out. And then a word pops up and says, haha, not so fast. So, and most of these words actually come from other languages. So they don't play by the simple rules. They have other things that they're playing with. Take the word Celtic, for example. Now, depending on the context, you'll hear Celtic or Celtic. How do you know? Well, sports fans in the U.S. and some other people who like the Boston Celtics, they say it with a S sound. But history buffs often talk about Celtic culture with a K. Confusing? Sure, but it's also kind of fun. It's nice to know. Here's another interesting one. How do you say this word? Now, if you read it by the rules, you might say cello. But thanks to Italian influence, it's pronounced cello. That's like the CH sound, like chocolate. So next time you're at a concert, impress somebody by saying it right. Cello. Okay? And here's another fun one. The word is Pacific. Pacific. This one is like a buffet because it has both C pronunciations. The first C is soft, like pa-si, and the second is hard, fic, Pacific. Isn't that strange? Because the first C is followed by an I, so it follows that soft rule. The last C is preceded by an I. An I comes first, so nothing comes after, so we just pronounce it like a hard C. A little bit of both worlds. So the tip here is don't get discouraged. When you run into an exception, just note it down, practice it, and maybe even make a little story about it to help you remember. Exceptions aren't mistakes. They are one of the things that make English colorful. I know, it also makes it harder to learn, but hey, what can I say? Okay, here is a fun twist. Some words don't just have one C. They have two. And that can feel a bit tricky because sometimes both C's sound the same and sometimes they don't. Huh? Take the word that Javier struggled with, success. The first C is hard, like k. The second is soft, like s. Suck-cess. That mix trips up a lot of learners, even little kids. My kids are learning too. So, how about the word soccer? Soccer. Both of the two C's there are hard. So you'd say soccer. Easy one. Once you know, but confusing if you expect one of them to be soft. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Sosker. That would be strange. Now here's another one. Let's try access. Access. Hard, then soft. Accent. That's another one. First hard, then soft. How about occurrence? I don't have them written on the slide, but the first two in occurrence are hard, and then the one at the end is soft. Whew. So notice how you have to switch gears sometimes in the very same word. So what's the tip here? Slow down and break the word into parts. Say each syllable clearly. Access, success, soccer. And with practice, your mouth learns when to switch between the hard and the soft C. It's just like juggling, but once you get the rhythm, it starts to feel more natural. Okay? All right. I know we covered a lot here tonight, so I want you to remember, if you mix it up, don't panic. Even native speakers stumble. Tell yourself, hey, I'm learning the rules. And every mistake is a step towards mastery. Confidence isn't about perfection, it's about progress. So, don't beat yourself up. Be positive. You notice I'm putting these positive self-talks in these videos because I think it's important. We've got to talk nicely to yourself. All right, now it's your turn. What is one word with the letter C that has always tripped you up? Drop it in the chat, and then we'll practice it together. For me, I used to struggle with things like access, like not so much saying the word, but remembering how to spell it. Remembering that you needed to put the C there. Another one is exercise. Ooh, that's a hard one, exercise. So drop that in the chat if you've got any. All right, here is your challenge. I want you to choose 5 words with hard C's and 5 words with soft C's and practice them out loud a little bit every day. Notice the mouth movement and sound the difference and the difference in the sound. And then practice, See how it makes you feel. And by the way, as I always say, if this helped you, give us a like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And you can read the full blog post at allaboutenglishmastery.com. The link is in the chat and in the description. All right. Oh, and by the way, if you have ever thought to yourself, I don't have time to study pronunciation, you want to check out my course, Mastering English for Busy Professionals. It's just for you. In 10 minutes a day, you'll get real habits, real tips, real confidence. The link is in the description and in the chat. And again, drop those questions in the chat and I'll answer a few right after. What? Right after the Mastery Minute, because that's what time it is. That's what time it is. The Mastery Minute. So today we've got a fun little idiom. And this idiom goes back hundreds of years to medieval markets. Cat's out of the bag. Have you ever heard that one? It might sound funny today, but back then it wasn't a joke. Why? Because farmers would sell pigs in sacks, in little bags. And sometimes dishonest sellers would slip a cat inside the bag instead. Uh-oh. And then once the bag was opened, the secret was out, and the buyer discovered the trick. That's where we get the phrase, Over time, it came to mean that a secret has been revealed, usually by accident. So, like, for example, in a modern way, we might say, well, we were planning a surprise party, but Jake mentioned it to Sarah, so cat's out of the bag. So that's just a fun idiom that you can drop into daily conversation whenever something hidden suddenly becomes known. So next time a secret slips out, just smile and say, well, cat's out of the bag. All right, I see your question there, Glisten BB, and I will get to you in just a second. Let's wrap this thing up and say, let's go through what did we talk about today? Oh yeah, we talked about the rules of hard and soft C. C, the hard one is a C plus A, O, or U. That's K. And C plus E, I, and Y is usually soft. Plus, we looked at the tricky exceptions and practiced together. So the letter C doesn't have to be confusing. It can be your ally when you know the rules. Next time, on Wednesday, we'll look at words you should avoid in small talk. Some words can kill a conversation before it even starts, and I'll show you exactly which ones to skip and what to say instead. So tune in Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Korea Standard Time. And if you found value tonight, I want you to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss future episodes. I am Dennis Wilborn, and this has been 15-Minute Mastery. I'll see you next time.